Welcome to Wisdom Outlined Coaching. My name is Askar Khan, your math coach. In this lesson, we will be studying about how to change fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. So let's dive into the lesson. Let us change 7 divided by 8 to a decimal. We've already studied such type of changing fractions to decimals in our lower grades. Let's see, 7 is divided into 8 parts. So basically we can write 8 and 7. Now because 7 is a lesser number than 8, we can't divide. So what do we have to do? We have to increase this 7. How do we do that? We put a decimal point and add a 0. Now it has become 70. Let's put 0 point. Now 8 times 8 is 64. Subtract it. 70 minus 64 is 6. Now we already have a decimal point over here. To continue further, we will simply put another 0. So 8 times what is close to 60? 8 times 7 is 56. Subtract it. 60 minus 56, 4. The decimal point is already placed. Add the 0. So 8 times 5 is 40. The remainder is 0. So 7 by 8 or 7 over 8, the decimal equivalent of that is 0.875. So this is how you change a fraction to a decimal. Let us change the decimal to a fraction, 0.35. Let us change this to a fraction. In order to do that, can I write 0.35 as 0.35 over 1? Now if I have to make this as a fraction, I have to move the decimal point 2 digits to the right. And when I move the decimal point 2 digits to the right, I can simply add 2 zeros to the denominator. It is basically multiplying the numerator and the denominator by 100. That's all it means. So now we have 35 over 100. Now this is a fraction. But wait a minute. Is there a number that can divide 35 and 100? Yes, 5. So 5 7 times is 35 and 5 20 times is 100. Now we say that this fraction is in its simplest form. So what is the equivalent of 0.35 as a fraction? It is 7 over 20. Get it? Let's move on. Let's change 1 over 3 to a decimal. 1 divided by 3 to a decimal. Fine, let's go back to our grade 1. 3 and 1. 1 is less than 3. So what do? We put 0 point and we add a 0 here. Now 3 how many times is close to 10? 3 times is 9. Subtract it. What do we get? 1. Now since we have already placed the decimal point, we will simply add a 0 again. 3 times is 9. Subtract it. We get 1. The point is already placed, so we put a 0. 3 times is 9. Do you observe what's happening? The 3 is recurring, right? Minus 9, 1, and it goes on. So we can say that 1 over 3 as a fraction is, as a decimal is 0.3. 3 is recurring, and we show that 3 is recurring by putting a dot. Some textbooks show the same thing as 0.3 bar, which means that the digit 3 is recurring, repeating itself. So this is how you represent a decimal whose digit repeats itself, either by putting a dot or by putting a bar over that digit. So this is called a recurring decimal. So 1/3 basically is nothing but 0.3333 on and on and on and on. So we show it as 0.3 bar. So let's move on and see how to change a recurring decimal into a fraction. Now let's convert 0.7 bar. What does this mean? It means that 7 is repeating itself. In other words, it's 0.7777. Convert this to a fraction. Now how do we go about converting recurring decimals to a fraction? The method which we can follow is, let x be equal to 0.7777 because 7 is repeating itself by the dot which is placed above 7. Now because only one digit is repeating itself, we will multiply both sides of this equation by 10. Suppose if two digits were repeating themselves, you will multiply both sides of the equation by 100. Good. If three digits are repeating itself, you will multiply both sides of the equation by 1000. Simple as that. So in this case, since there is only one digit that is repeating itself, we will multiply both sides of the equation by 10. Before we do that, let's label this equation as 1. And when we multiply both sides of the equation by 10, what do we get? We get 10x is equal to 0.777 multiplied by 10, it becomes 7.7777 on and on and on. Let's label this equation as 2. Got it? The first two steps. Now what we will do is, we will subtract the second equation minus the first equation. Now in order to get the clear picture, let's rewrite them again. 10x is equal to 7.7777 on and on and on, minus, what is our first equation? X equal to 0.7777 on and on and on. So now let's subtract them. When we do that, these will become 0. We are left with 7. 10x minus x is 9x. Now we have 9x is equal to 7. How will you find x? Divide by 9 on both sides. So what do you get? We get x is equal to 7 over 9. This is the fraction equivalent of 0.7 repeating itself. Now do you understand how to change a recurring decimal to a fraction? No matter what the numbers are, the method remains the same. If two digits are repeating, you multiply the equation by 100. If three digits are repeating, you multiply the equation by 1000. And then you subtract the two equations, do your normal lower grade math, and you will get the answer. So let's try another problem. Let's try this. Convert 0.23 and the dots are over 2, 3. That means 2, 3 is repeating, is recurring, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3 and so on. We have to convert this to a fraction. So what's the first step? We learned let x be equal to 0.23232323 and so on. Let us label this equation as 1. Okay, what's the second step? Because two digits are repeating itself, what do? We will multiply both sides of the equation by 100. Good. When we multiply both sides of the equation by 100, what do we get? We get 100x is equal to 0.232323. When you multiply by 100, the decimal point gets shifted 2 digits and we land up with 23.232323 and so on. Let us label this equation as 2. Then what do? We simply subtract equation 2 minus equation 1. In order to get a clear picture, the visualization of the problem clearly for us to subtract, let's rewrite this equation. Always remember, try to visualize your problem step by step. The clearer view you have of your steps, the easier it becomes for you to work. So organize your work step by step. So let's write it down. Second equation first. So let's write 100x equals 23.232323 and so on, minus the first equation, which is x equals 0.232323 and so on. Now we need to subtract them. When we subtract them, these 2, 3, 2, 3, they get cancelled because they land up with 0. 23 minus 0 is 23. 100x minus x is 99x. Now what do? We want to find x. So divide by 99 on both sides. So what do we get? X is equal to 23 over 99. Now do you understand how to change a recurring decimal to a fraction? Great going. If you're looking for math coaching classes for board exams, you can WhatsApp me at the number given in the description below for math coaching. Thank you for watching the video and thank yourself for being proactive in learning.